indeed welcome back to my channel. Hello. This angle is not the best. Do I need to be higher in my chair? Hang on, let me have a look. There we go, that's better, isn't it? Much better. I thought it was about time that I did a new what do I think now, because I haven't done that for a little while. I'm trying to sort of do it monthly, but I don't really have a schedule at the moment. I'm just kind of winging things and filming when I can, uploading when I can. But I think I posted the other day that I seem to have settled into Wednesdays and Sundays, with Sundays being days that I can go live. So here I am. I should probably put my phone on silent, shouldn't I? Let's do that. Oh, thank you. I am right in the middle of filming another video. In fact, it was a bit of a mad scramble to make sure that I was online in time. I just about managed to finish, and I think I've put on liner, but I don't have any mascara on, but that's fine. I can resume shortly. So I've got the palettes in front of me. You'd have thought I keep my palettes in the boxes. I don't know why I do that. I just do. I like keeping them in the boxes, unless they are super bulky boxes like the Beauty Bay ones, like any of the ones that come in those bigger boxes and then they're wrapped in bubble wrap inside. I keep them in the boxes. I don't know why I do. That's probably why I like sleeves so much. I don't know if I've had a recent rant about sleeves. It's coming if I haven't, but I will be having a bit of a rant about sleeves momentarily. Love a sleeve, and I don't like it when brands do away with them. So they're all out of the boxes and the sleeves, and I'll start with let's start with Vivette, because that's right up there, and I'll try and hold this up without blinding people with the mirror. And this is how Vivette looks inside. This is an interesting one, actually, Vivette, because I wasn't going to get this. I randomly, I don't know how, but I got this in PR. Adept were doing a PR search at the beginning of the year, and I put in my details, not thinking much of it, and then randomly got this email saying, your order's on its way from Adept. And I was like, oh my God, I've been hacked. But then I looked, and they were sending me Vivette and Minka, and I remember thinking that this was the most bizarre colour story ever. For me, it lacked cohesion. I thought it was really random, and I couldn't understand it. And then I tried it. In fact, funny enough, I think I'm wearing the same top I was wearing in that video when I tried Vivette. And I actually really liked the looks that I got from it. Adept are one of those brands that are definitely known for their shimmers. They're standout. Normally they tend to do shimmer heavy palettes. I think this one's 50-50. Yeah, this one's 50-50. While the color story, now that I have it, has definitely grown on me, some of the shimmers in here are pretty chunky. They're pretty chunky. Let me see here. I would say I should have probably read up just before I joined about the different formulas, but like Nyack, I don't know if you can see that on my fingers. Hey Trax, that's quite bitty. So when you, let me see if you can smooth that out. It's quite toppery when you spread it out. And I have found, so if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I'm having this thing where I'm exploring creasing. I'm trying to find different, hey Colette, I'm trying to find different sticky bases to put shimmers on, because some of the sticky bases out there don't play well with all of the formulas. NYX has been my go-to, but I'm finding that that doesn't do the job for everything. This palette, for example, does not like NYX at all. And I found that I do tend to get a lot of creasing with this. So I don't know that this would be an Adept palette I would reach for a lot, until I've solved the creasing problem, then it may well be, because despite what I feel is a very random color story, you can actually get some really, really nice looks out of this palette. Really nice. I think there's a lot of shades individually I really like. For example, the green and the blue, what a surprise. And the black in here is a nice black. And I don't know if I'd want some of the shimmers to, let me just let me see about this here. So Belmaron, I think, is one that I quite liked. I think Vivette is one that's a bit, so that's Vivette on my little finger there. Belmaron. How have I done this now? Yeah, Belmaron is that one. That's the deep one there. And then I think this one is Vivette. Or is that Magic? Good Lord. No, that's Magic. That's Vivette. Terrible. I've got the attention span of a gnat. So these ones, I'm trying to think if there are chunky shades in Minka or if they're smoother. I've recently been using Element 115, and all the shimmers in there are super smooth. I used that the other day, this week, Tuesday, Wednesday. That is, I mean, I know that we're not supposed to be talking about that one right now, but that's a really nice palette. I really like that, and I didn't experience like any creasing there. But that would be my only, oops. Oh yeah, I've got bits all over my desk now. Oops. So while I've been won over by this palette and the color story. It's definitely not as random as I first thought. I do appreciate this more than I thought I would, and I am quite glad to have it. Like, I would never have bought this. This is one I snorted haughtily when this was revealed and when people were sort of showing it, because I just thought that's not for me. But I do like this palette. I just have to work on the shades in here that crease a little bit, and maybe I'll reach for this a bit more. Minka I would reach for in a heartbeat all the time, so this wouldn't rate as highly as, say, Minka, and I'd say that the same for Element 115. Adept not so long ago had a goodbye sale. They might still be running it actually for Unity and Flying Fiddles, so I have picked those up, but I haven't actually used them yet. They're in my pile of shame, and I will get round to those at some point soon. Maybe after I've finished, well, not today, but once I've finished filming with these palettes that I'm filming with at the moment, maybe next time I film, those will be the palettes. I might do like an Adept dedicated video, possibly. What is next? Blood Moon from Electrum Cosmetics. This is one I've been eyeing for a really long time, and Electrum Cosmetics is one of those brands where they sell out constantly. They're hand pressed, so I think when it comes to quantities, the owner cannot make them in bulk. They just can't, so they're always selling out. This was on, where was this? Monolith, and that's where I picked it up. It was on sale. I remember debating, I was going back and forth over whether to get this or Tales of Terror, and in the end I settled on this because I did, and I really like this palette. This one this was like my palette of the week maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, like as part of my rotation, and the looks that I did, I loved the looks that I did with it. I think it's deep, it's dark, it's sultry, it's just such a sexy color story, for want of a better word. Can you describe a color story as sexy? I don't know, I just have. I really like this. This has got a sweet scent to it. I don't know what in here is sweet. it's quite a pleasant smell, actually. I mean, I don't think it's fragranced at all. It's just whatever, there's some ingredients in there, I don't know what they are, but it's got like a sweet, subtle sweet smell that it emits. And I really like this. I wonder if I can pull up the look I'm referring to that I did the other day. It would be on my stories, I think, in my archive. But yeah, I really like this. Really like this. It's one of the, it's a bit on the expensive side given the amount of shadows, but I'm not surprised with them being hand pressed. And I remember when it arrived, it did look a bit, not that any of the shades arrived damaged per se, but it wasn't pristine. You know, like when you buy a machine pressed palette, it's pristine and all the shades are smooth and everything. It didn't look like that. Let me find a Blood Moon. Blood Moon. I think this is Blood Moon, isn't it? No, that's Burning Underground. That's not Blood Moon. Where is my Blood Moon look? Gosh, is it that long ago I did? Oh, it must have been, yeah. Yes, I have to hold it because of that. I don't know if you recognise that. That was on my stories a few weeks back. But I just liked the look. It was simple but striking. It was dark. Was it perhaps a bit much for a day in the office? Yeah, probably. But 9 times out of 10, my eyeshadow is a bit much for a day in the office. But those are the days where I tend to do my longevity test because I have them on 4 hours. But yeah, really, yeah, and it lasted really well. That was me at the end of the day. So they last really well, really good shadows. This is one that now that I've used it solidly and tested it out and used the different shades, really like this one. This is one I would see myself reaching for. Yeah, really like this. I Electrum Cosmetics recently did that, it's like an all shimmer, I think is it a 9 pan all shimmers? That grabbed my attention. I really liked the look of that, but again, small quantities, sold out really quickly. I believe there was a pre-order done, but I don't know if that's still available. um I don't know if that would be going on to Monolith. I don't even know if Dark Winter made it to Monolith, actually. Yeah, they were. The Electrum Cosmetics shimmers were just stunning. Oh gosh, I got to remember. And I don't want to press the wrong button. Last time I pressed a button, it went horribly wrong and it kicked me off. So I'm nervous about pressing buttons now. Element 115 holochromes. I can't recall off the top of my head. Quite possibly. You're probably right on that. But yeah, I'm impressed by that. I would like to get my hands on more Electrum Cosmetics products because, especially with them being handmade, I'd be curious about the consistency, like if the owner is able to recreate that. I mean, it's just, if it's a batch, it's a mixture, so, but I would just be curious. Dark Winter it did look nice, but it didn't catch my eye. But that all shimmer one, that was interesting. But I'll keep an eye out for future releases and see what comes to Monolith and how much it's inflated. And then I'll make a call as to whether or not I'll buy more Electrum Cosmetics in the future. But based on my experience with Blood Moon, it's definitely a brand I'd be willing to spend money on again. I like that. Glaminatrix Rich Romantic. This one, actually, this isn't intentional. I think there was a period, I don't know what was going on, what was in the water, but I got Minka and Vivette in PR, so I didn't pay for those. I won this in a competition, so I didn't pay for that. And then one of the palettes I'm going to talk about is Fairy Tale Europe, and I also won that as part of the guessing game for Fairy Tale Europe. So that was a bumper few months. I don't know what was going on there, but I'm not complaining because Rich Romantic here. Probably, I want to play with this a bit more. It's one like I have kind of put it in my rotation, but I think I've been enjoying others. Like I kept on to that for longer than I should have done. Hello. So I want to play with this more. I think that one of the things I was thinking when I've been using it is I would like one more deeper shade. I feel like I say this a lot, but I just think that Passion could do with being a deeper brown than this because it doesn't actually come off that deep. No, this is Glaminatrix, Rich Romantic from Glaminatrix. And that would be sort of, I think, my main criticism, just that I can't always necessarily get the depth that I would like. Like, it's still a pretty well-rounded color story and a well-rounded palette, but if that was just a bit deeper, or maybe like both of these two, maybe if or one or the other, I think probably the brown. I think if that was like a deep chocolate brown, I think that would round it off really nicely. One thing I do like about this is it's not that I'm someone who does BYOPs, but I am coming around to the idea of palettes being magnetic. Having said that, Glaminatrix Cosmetics seems to keep changing their pan sizes. So I think they were bigger than this. I think the 26 mils. These are the 22 mils. But I think Bonfire has gone back up to the 26 mils. I can't keep up. They keep changing their pan size, and I don't know. I think it might be to do with the fact that they've changed their production technique, and I think that might be why they're going back to bigger pan sizes. I don't know what it is with brands changing pan sizes. I think Unearthly the other day were talking about changing their pan size as well, smaller pans to make it cheaper all around for the consumer, which I kind of get it if it's a cost thing, but at the same time, from a consistency perspective, especially when pans are magnetic, it's a bit frustrating that the pans change size. But yeah, I think this put me onto the brand though. So I like the quality of this. So this has put me onto the brand, and I've since got not barely, but nearly natural. I picked that up. So this put me onto the brand because I like the quality and I like the formula, and I wanted to see more. I think because I liked it generally and I was impressed with the quality, that's what made me think, do you know what, let me get a palette that perhaps has a broader spectrum. And I think it's there in Nearly Natural, and that's really wide. That goes super light all the way up to like super dark. Again, would I prefer a bit more depth in Nearly Natural? Quite possibly. I'm a depth fiend, apparently. I want more all the time, more depth, please. But I do like this. I'm trying to think what are the shades in here that I like. So something like Charming, I do feel that that might potentially be one of the shifts that you see quite often in these kind of shades. But I don't know, it just never fails to impress me when I see a shade like this. I love them. And then was it Captivating that was the other shade in here I quite liked? Or swatch Captivating anyway. It's a nice inner corner. And then, or maybe it was Romantic, which is one of those shimmers that's white in the pan. Yeah, see that's, yeah, one of those ones, white in the pan, but it's gold. But it's really nice, smooth. Even the, is it Rich? just put it on here. Yeah, just nice and smooth. That's rich there that I've just swatched. Yeah, this one I do like a lot. I think maybe this is one where, like, if I'm traveling, for example, what I might do is maybe pop out a shade like Intoxicating up here and put in one of the deeper shades from Nearly Natural. So that's where it's nice, even though I'm not like a BYOP person, that's where it's nice to have the magnetic pans that are all the same size, because I can get the depth I want now, because I can just pop out a couple of the lighter shades and put in some of the deeper colors that I would like instead. So not my ideal color story, like pretty, like I do, it's got some tick marks, like it's got these really nice purples here, and I do like the shimmers. It's just that depth that it's missing for me. But overall, quality wise, formula wise, I can see why people rate Lemonatrix, and I'm definitely looking to get more from the brand. I'm trying to talk myself out of Bonfire because everyone keeps saying how amazing that palette is, and I keep seeing people use it, and every time I see people use it and I think to myself I want it, I I I talk myself out of it. I think of other palettes that I already have. Like even this, I think this is a very bonfire-y look. I'm sure I could get this with Bonfire. Maybe even that actually. Hmm. I don't need Bonfire. I just kind of want Bonfire. I mean, does anyone know? No one needs an eyeshadow. Sorry. But I just seeing. I think there's an orange in there that's really. But that's a red shimmer. That's like a full-on red shimmer. Maybe if it's ever on sale, like Black Friday or something, possibly. I shouldn't. I shouldn't. Yeah, see, they are beautiful swatches, aren't they? They really are. Yeah, tracks about that's about Rich Romantic. It's just missing. It could be a really well-rounded palette if it just had a little bit more depth. See, I do wonder if with Unearthly, if they when they change their pan sizes, if that is actually going to reflect in the price, or if it's one of those things where the price will stay the same, but the pans get smaller, and the justification will be, well, the cost of production and ingredients, etc., has gone up. So we've reduced the pans to reduce the cost, but the cost doesn't actually reduce. Making sense? Does that make any sense? Sometimes, like you get that, like products decreasing year on year, but the price staying the same, which is always cheeky. Yeah, see, I when Barely Basic came out, or when Barely Basic was kind of on my radar, I hadn't tried them at all yet, so I was a bit nervous, and I don't think I'd done much research yet on how much shipping would actually be to buy from Glaminatrix. I just thought it's Australia, it's literally the other side of the world. Shipping from the States is so expensive. I didn't even want to contemplate how much shipping from Australia would be, because I figured it would have to be eye-watering. But it's actually quite reasonable. It's maybe 12 or £13, which I wouldn't necessarily do for just one palette. So when I ordered Nearly Natural, I also got some singles as well at the same time, because I just felt, I think the postage was £10 at that point, but I still thought £10 for just one palette is a bit much. So maybe what I'll do is, if there's a sale and if they release another palette that's more up my street, maybe I'll get Bonfire and future new release together. Possibly. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Yes, Shrinkflation. Yeah, they are Bonfire-esque. They are, aren't they? Just catching up on the comments. Sometimes I miss them. I'm just looking. Do they shift to green? Yeah, they do actually. Now you've pointed that there's a green like that. Definitely is like straight up green, and that's got a greenish hue. I don't know what it is sometimes about duochromes and multichromes. Like, is the green side of it the cheapest element? Because you get that flip a lot where it's blue to green, or gold to green, or pink to green. I don't know why it's always green. Maybe a chemist or someone could educate me on that. Why a lot of these multichromes seem to have that shift to green. I don't understand that. Or maybe it's a is it a color theory thing? I don't know. I don't know, but that's something I've noticed a lot of the times. These these duos and multis, when they have a shift, there always seems to be a green element, which I don't necessarily mind because I'm a fan of green, but it can get a bit samey, and you don't want that in every single duochrome or multichrome that you own. It gets a bit boring, doesn't it? Next, I'm going to talk about Vault of Olympus from CXC Beauty. And CXC Beauty is a funny. I don't see many people talking about CXC Beauty. I don't really know why. I think that I'm trying to hold this up without blinding you with the mirror. So this is the one I picked up, and I got this when I went to the States in February earlier on this year, and I did multiple orders. I did like a US haul. I've got a video on it. Maybe I'll link it in the description box once this is live. I picked this one because I thought it was a good way to try the brand, because you've got the colorful side and then you've got the neutral side. So I thought to myself, you know, if I never buy a palette from the brand again, I've got quite a nice mixture in here. And in the initial video that I did, I split it, and I tried to do that one either neutral side and one colorful side, or one dark side, one light side. That's what I tend to do to try and demonstrate a palette when I'm filming with it for the first time. This is the driest formula I have ever come across, to the point where I remember when I was swatching, I was a little bit nervous about how it would perform. It performed really well though, and I think it was only this orange shade at the bottom that I was a bit dubious about, because it was really, really dry and I couldn't pick it up. It was like it's this shade here is so densely pressed, so tightly pressed, that getting the pigment up is hard. It's difficult. Everything else is fine. Are these the most intense shimmers you've ever come across? Not especially. They're quite different. They're not like be seen from space kind of shimmers. Let me pick up a few here. But they are very pretty. I'm going to run out of space very quickly. I haven't been very economical with... See that? I like that one, but obviously you can see what I mean. Swatched directly next to Glaminatrix, they're not the most intense of shimmers, but they are still very, very pretty. Let me swatch this one. That's perhaps a bit more sparkly. So as I said before, I'm banging on about longevity and creasing and all the rest of it, and I'm trying to find solutions for when I do get creasing. These shadows are formulated with the Florida climate in mind, so there's a reason why they're so dry. They still perform, they still blend, but they do not budge. In all the looks I have created using this palette, and also that I picked up the Christmas 2024 palette as well. That was the one I wanted originally, but I dawdled and I missed out because it was limited edition, but CXC Beauty did these mystery boxes and they brought back the Christmas palette. And I've been talking on and off with Anthony, who is the chemist, and Christian, who own, well, they're co-owners, but like Christian's the face of the brand. How would I describe it? But Anthony, he makes all the shades. He makes all the shades in the back of the shop that they have in Florida. And he knew I'd expressed an interest, and he said, "Oh, it's coming back for the mystery box. I can make one up for you if you want." I was like, "Yeah." So I bought that, and I've only used that once so far, so I haven't included it in here. I mean, I guess I could, because even from the one time I've used it, I really liked it. Not a single one of the looks that I have created using this has creased. Not one, not even a little bit. I I don't know what magical fairy dust CXC Beauty has put in this, but I'm impressed. I am impressed. And I think they are reformulating. They're changing things up. I think they're aiming to make their shimmer formula a little bit more intense. There's a time and a place. Like I think I said it in my original video. I mean, they're not dull shimmers. You're never going to get a dull shimmer. They are still pretty, but they're impactful. So I don't know if anyone has seen the swatches that are going around of the Louis Vuitton release, which is an eye-watering, is it, I think, £190 for the quad and 69 for the refills. Is it wrong that I'm tempted to buy some of the refills, especially now I know that they're magnetic? There's a strong temptation, just out of sheer curiosity, to buy a set of the refills. I don't know that I will, but I am thinking, like, I'm in London next, well, I'm in London a lot at the moment. I might go into the Louis Vuitton store, just maybe have a bit of a browse, a bit of a window shop. But I digress. The shimmers in there are so subtle, super subtle. And I think for that price, I would want to be able to be picked up from satellites in space. That's the kind of shimmer that I would want for that price. I think I'd want actual gold or silver in the shimmers at that price, but I would want intensity, or at least one that's like, wow. And I'm not getting that from the Louis Vuitton, but I'm mentioning that just because if you're trying to kind of gauge where these shimmers are on the reflective scale, they're not kapow, but they still make a statement. I think tomorrow I've scheduled a post actually, and CXC Beauty, the first two looks I did, they're going to go up, I think, tomorrow or Tuesday. So I mean, you can judge for yourself, or you can check out the video and see if you think that that's the kind of, if you're happy with that shimmer level. I am. There's a time, yeah, a bit more subtle, but still impactful. Nice, yeah. I will say, so these are also magnetic. I'm not 100% convinced by the packaging, which I think I said before. I mean, the image on the front, if you look really closely, it's like a bit blurry. Like, I'm not fussed about that. But generally, it's quite sturdy. And I think I made a comment, if I really didn't like the packaging at all, I could always just depot them, put them in like a magnetic Z palette. I do prefer how the Christmas one looks. That comes in like a white version of this case, so you can see like this is black. So the Christmas one is in a white packaging, and the acrylic, is it acrylic? This bit anyway, it's got a nice design on it, so I prefer the Christmas one packaging wise. Color story wise, I'll come back to that. Maybe when I do what do I think now, including the Christmas one, I'll let you know which one I prefer color story wise. I think overall, despite the fact that this has got that split of colourful v neutral, I feel like the Christmas one is more wearable in general. It's kind of more overall neutral leaning. But yeah, really, really like this. And would I buy more from the? I think I would. I was really, really tempted. The latest one, the name has just escaped me, but it's got a dragon on the front. I can't remember the name of that palette. That caught my eye, but I feel like that's really similar to something like Botanical or In Mel's Memory, like Natasha Denona retro retro glam, not retro glam. That greeny pinky one that she did the first one, and then she said it was an expansion, and when it was the expansion, it didn't look anything like the mini. I'll just stop. Let's just stop while I'm ahead. So I'm including Lure in this because even though I've had this for a very long time, I've never done a dedicated video with this because by the time I got it, it was old. I didn't think anyone would be remotely interested. But I used it in a Scratch That Itch video. And I think I'd used it maybe once before that, but it was using it in that Scratch That Itch that I thought, oh, actually, oh, why am I not using this more? And this is right up my street. It's blue, it's purple, it's green, and then you've got your bluey greeny column, and then you've got a bit of pink, and then some neutral here as well. And it's got the depth because you've got that bottom row. There obviously it's not many shimmers in here, it's just that top row. So this is like the old school Blend Bunny formula where they don't necessarily have that many shimmers. It will be maybe one on the end. And are they the best shimmers in the world? No, not really, because I don't think Blend Bunny even, I don't think Blend Bunny are particularly well known for their shimmers, but they're still quite nice, to be fair. Is it Pearl Pearl impressed me? Where can I put this? Should I put my watch off so I've got a bit more space to swatch? So this is Pearl. And I just think that that's a really nice colour. It's like a pink champagne. It's really pretty. My little light has died, which is very frustrating. I took it to charge it last night and I failed miserably. But that's Pearl, and I just think that's a really, really nice standout shade from there. The rest of them are perfectly adequate. Not the best, not the worst. So I'm just Folklore and Charmed. So that's Folklore. And that's not Charmed. I don't have anything on that. That's Charmed. So they're nice. They're nice. And I think I like the vibrancy of this. Like I ended up picking this up. This came to Glisten. So Glisten now stock Blend Bunny. They have done for a while, and I feel really bad because whenever I place an order with Glisten, it's always Blend Bunny, and I hardly ever buy any actual Glisten products. I've got a few wet liners and a few chroma glosses, which are actually really nice, I do have to say. But invariably, if I'm buying from Glisten, it's a Blend Bunny purchase. I always feel a bit guilty doing that, but it's but I use this more as well when Beauty Below came out, just because I was curious. I was doing a lot of comparisons, and they are sister palettes. This one is the brighter, more vibrant palette, where you've got like the deep, dark, sultry Beauty Below. And another reason I pull this out is because as I say, the Scratch That Itch, which came about because Gloss Gods released that Northern Lights palette, and I'm just trying now. I want to be able to do more Scratch That Itches, but sometimes I'm filming so far in advance now when I can that by the time I can film a Scratch That Itch, I mean, I don't know. Like, what do you guys think? Is it still worth filming a Scratch That Itch when the palette is a bit older? Because sometimes one of the reasons why I wanted to start doing Scratch That Itches is I wanted to try and get ahead of the curve, and when a palette is announced, um, do a Scratch That Itch, so that if you're thinking, I mean, not that I don't know how many people it would reach, how many people would see it, but if a few people were to see a Scratch That Itch video and save some coin because they realize that they've got a palette that quite closely matches the color story, then the video has been successful. But I don't know how long a Scratch That Itch video is relevant for. Like, I was thinking of doing a Scratch That Itch for the Shrek palette, but I don't even know when I'd be able to get that up. So I don't know if it'd be worth it. I don't know. Let me know what you think. And then last palette, I've tried to keep it condensed because I don't want to talk your ear off for an excessive amount of time. And it's Sunday evening, so I don't want to hog your Sunday evening. But the last palette is Nomad Fairy Tale Europe. And not another reason, but I'm glad I keep my palettes in the boxes, because I think that's one of the reasons why this castle on the front is still looking as good as it is. So it's stuck on this castle, which is I get it. Like, I like the idea of it, but if you're not someone who keeps your palettes in the boxes, I feel like this could get wrecked easily. Like, it could scuff on things and it could just end up lifting. I think a few people have already experienced lifting with this peak here. Overall though, I think this looks beautiful. I think this is really nice packaging. Now this one, again, a bit like with Vivette, for example, I don't know that I'd have necessarily picked this one up, because I wasn't necessarily sold on the color story. It threw me that you've got those super colorful shimmers on the top and then the neutral mattes at the bottom. And I just thought to myself, I don't know if that works. But it does. It does. I really, really enjoyed the looks that I did with this palette. I really, really did. I think my one critique would be, as per usual, I'd get rid of that and I'd maybe put in a navy. And I know it probably goes against it because these are generally, it's browns, that's a grey, and then it's black, but it's on that scale. So something like a navy perhaps seems like it's a bit, it wouldn't fit, but I think it really would. If you shunt all of those up and then you put a navy there, I just think a navy would go really well with just, well, all of it. Just think about it. A navy in your crease with these two, a navy with like that yellow, a navy and pink. I think a navy shade in here would work really, really well. And it would still have that sort of colourful shimmer, neutral, matte thing about it. So a bit like Vivette, I'm glad that I ended up sort of winning this, because I genuinely think this is one that I would have skipped. Like, I also skipped Route 66, but I have ordered Salem, Witch City Salem. I have ordered that, and I have been wanting that colour story. I mean, I have it, I definitely do, but in different palettes. But I've been eyeing for the longest time Tales of Terror and Spooked. So Tales of Terror is Wicked Widow Beauty, and Spooked is Gourmand Girls. And I was debating which one to get, if either. And then Gourmand Girls have mentioned that they're going to be revamping Spooked. So then I thought, oh, maybe I just wait for the revamp. And Tales of Terror is now sold out on, where is it sold out on? It's sold out on Monolith, which is where I normally get my US indie palettes from. So, And then Which City was revealed, and I just think it's this sort of beautiful, vibrant Halloween color story. Is it a new concept? No. But because I don't have Tales of Terror and I don't have the other one, Spooked, that palette, I have a space for that palette because of the fact I don't have the others. So I do wonder, like, if I had, for example, bought Tales of Terror or Spooked by now, would I have gone for Which City Salem? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. But this one took me by surprise. It really did. I was really, really, really surprised by how much I like this palette. Really. And it's one I tend to be quite strict because when I'm buy palettes at an alarming rate. Um, so when I have something in a rotation and I'm using it, it kind of it goes around in like a mini cycle, and then sometimes I'll be like, oh, but I want to use that one. So I try to be quite strict in what I'm using and how long I'm using it for, and I try to keep in mind that I want to come back and give feedback when I've actually used a palette for a long time. And this is one that kind of kept sneaking back in. And I'm annoyed at myself because I'm really bad at taking pictures or recording in any way the looks that I do, like in everyday life. Like if I'm filming, I've got plenty of time, I take my pictures. But a lot of the time, if I'm going to work, I'm running out the door, and I'm trying to make an effort now to document the looks that I'm doing and do check-ins and whatnot. For me as well, more than anything, because it just makes it easier to sort of come back and to show you. I think I did do I think I know I did some initial, well, not initial, but I first time it was in my rotation was back in June. I think I did do some stories just showing the looks that I had done then, but I also used it again sort of last month, but I didn't take pictures then. But I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better at taking pictures. But that's Fairy Tale Europe. Really, very pleasantly surprised by this one. Definitely, I wasn't sure I'd like this. I think I assumed that this might be a bit of a dud, but I really like that. See, why aren't my comments aren't coming up on my screen? There we go. I was wondering. I was like, why is no one talking? Yeah, I'm trying to even think how I heard about CXC Beauty. I genuinely can't remember because people they're not really talked about. I don't see, like, I wonder if I was to look now if anyone has got a review of their, yeah, like Dragon Garden or something like that. I do wonder if anyone's like done a review of that. Like, yeah, like CXC Beauty is not one of those brands I see talked about very often. Yes, exactly. The packaging looks really cheap but feels sturdy. Yeah, I've got to give it to that. I think they should just kind of go full on like Pat McGrath style. Like they've got the element of it. I think that just do away with that. Just have just all black and just have like CXC Beauty. Just, would I say they need to revamp the logo? Possibly not, but just CXC Beauty, and then you can tell what it is. Oh, I didn't show you this. So this is what the back of it looks like. So you can see the different shades. They used to have an insert that had this on there, but it was a nightmare to print, so they abandoned that, the inner with the shades on there. I'll let you know what I think. I mean, Nomad formula, is it the best formula of all of the indie brands? I wouldn't say so. I'm still working up, I think, to discover to finding out which shimmer formula I like the best. Not shimmer, just the overall formula I like the best. But what I like about Nomad is they're consistent, especially now. And I say that as someone who's only been using them really since I started my channel, because I don't think I'd bought anything from them before that point, um, until I realized again they were possibly a bit more accessible than I thought they would be. I would originally ship orders to my brother because he's in Europe and they've got a European warehouse. Um, but and I worked out from the conversion, I'm actually better off buying it directly from the States because I pay in dollars. Shipping, yeah, it's $25, which is expensive, but it's still more cost effective than shipping it to my brother. I think I just assumed it would be cheaper, and I never did the maths, but I've done it now. But I just like the consistency. I like the customer service. Like Nomad customer service is has got to be some of the best out there. It's just they're quick, whether it's by email or through DMs on Instagram. Um, I like what they sort of stand for. I like the fact that um, they do the guessing game, which is something it's a bit fun, it's a bit different. They do the starfish, and every palette has a cause attached to it that they do a donation. So just Nomad generally as a brand is just a brand that I'm on board with. So that's one of the reasons why I go for them, and for the it's a good price point for the it's a reliable formula at a good price point, and I feel like you know what you're getting when you buy from Nomad, and that's why I keep buying from them. Like I was looking, I don't know if you can see, off to the corner there. I've got a new shelving system. I literally built that yesterday, but my pallets were expanding at a rate that was too big for the shelf I had then, before. So I've got like a PAX IKEA solution where I'm going to put all of my palettes, and I've got a lot of Nomad, like a lot of Nomad and a lot of Cosmic, and probably because their Cosmic is the nicest quality, cheapest price point UK indie brand, and Nomad is the US equivalent. So are they the best formulas? No, but they're solid formulas. Solid. Um, I have not tried Wicked Widow Beauty before, and that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to get Tales of Terror, because I really like that color story. And I don't know, maybe I might, if it comes back to Monolith, I could be tempted still, because I want to try the formula, and because Tales of Terror is a bit grungier. It's not the it's the vibrancy isn't there. So the Witch City Salem one, that's your typical bright Halloween colors, super, super bright colors in there. Whereas Tales of Terror has got the same colors but muted. So I think I'd be inclined to go for maybe Witch City's coming. So Witch City and Tales of Terror. I don't think I'd now get spooked though. But that's not to say I don't want more from Gourmand Girls. I do want more from Gourmand Girls, but I'm just waiting, I think, for that next palette that grabs me. Like I'm curious about Trapped, because I know that's going to have some greens in there. I love a green. And I'm just curious what other colors might be in there. I suspect it's one that will be dupable to the point where I can't really justify getting it. But I'm intrigued, and I'm going to start seeing more teasers, like actual shades, next week. I mean, it's getting released on the 5th. But I happened to join a line on Instagram that Christina, the owner, was doing, and she mentioned that they're going to start doing more sneak peeks of the palette from tomorrow. Does not match the images on the website. I actually like how it looks. There's no orange in the images, so I believe there's no orange in the images. So do you mean there's an orange in the palette while there isn't one in the stock images available of Tales of Terror? Because it definitely does. Because I remember Newport doing a look um, with the orange. But I don't know. I'll see if it comes back and it's still on sale, and there are some other things, preferably on sale from Monolith that I can get together. I'm not ruling Tales of Terror out, and that's mainly because I'd want to try the formula, and that's another reason why I wouldn't get Spooked as well. It Spooked is too similar to Witch City, and also I have tried the Gourmand Girls formula before, so it's not like I feel I'd want to test the formula out or anything like that. Yes, see, I don't know if did I mention that in I might have mentioned that in new makeup that I imagine it looking like Devour. Just they've got that very similar feel to it. So I imagine maybe some greens, like a pink, burgundy. I'm trying to think what other shade. Those are my predictions. I wish I could do, like the actual images that Doodles the Bunny does. I wish I could do those so I could mock up my prediction of Devour, not Devour, Trapped, which could look like Devour. But yeah, I'll let you know my thoughts on Salem when I get it. I imagine that I'll be pretty pleased with it. If it's the Nomad formula I've gotten used to, then I'll be happy. I find so as I say, I'm experimenting. I actually bought so Susie. I don't know if you're still watching because Lord knows what time it is in Australia at this point, at the part of Australia you are in. But I did get the Barry M glitter primer from Boots. I picked that up today, and I also want to get the Carla Cosmetics one. So the Barry M one, it was like a fiver. So even if that for whatever reason doesn't work in the way it should, it was a fiver, so I don't mind. And I'm also going to get the Carla Cosmetics one because other people have mentioned that that's a good one for getting shimmers to stay, to pop, and not to crease. So I'm going to try that one out because yeah, so I do find I can get creasing with Nomad, but not all the time. And sometimes I think it's if I try to use a shade that's a bit more toppery all over the lid with nothing underneath and just the NYX glitter primer, which I've been using historically, that seems to be when I get the most creasing. So I would say, I think I mentioned it in my stories, that maybe 30% of the time when I'm using Nomad palettes, I get a bit of creasing. I haven't tried that yet, but what I am trying at the moment, it's buried under these boxes, because I've gone off oh, here it is. I've also gone off my Be Perfect Perfect priming canvas. I think I was just using it because I had it, to be honest. I don't know why that was like my go-to, but I ordered this color fix in shade number 9. I think I'll also get it in 8, so it's just a little bit lighter, but this just block covers my discoloration, so it just gives my lids a blanker canvas, because sometimes I think my shadows struggle with the fact that it's sort of super dark. Just my lids are just discolored. They don't the complexion on my eyelids isn't even. So this is the first time I'm using this as a initial primer, and that seems to work. So that's what this is on top of. And I haven't used a glitter primer or like anything. I've just gone straight on with the shimmers, and they've adhered pretty well. Because, and that's another thing. Sometimes I think shadows prefer nothing at all to a NYX glitter primer. So that's just something I'm experimenting with. So now I've got that Barry M1. It's annoying. I wanted to get the Carla Cosmetics one. The bigger one is sold out. And I figure I don't want to get the smaller one in case I really like it, because it's actually only a couple of pound more for the bigger one. So I might as well just get the big one. So I'm waiting for the bigger one to get back in stock, but I'm gonna put Poison Garden back into my rotation and use the Barry M and also just use nothing at all and see how I get on, because I do quite like the look of coalescence, but I'm not going to buy that until I am satisfied that I'm going to get a decent wear from the Bella Beauty Bar formula, which I'm not getting at the moment. And for the price of Bella Beauty Bar, it's not exactly one of the cheaper indie formulas out there. So if I'm paying Bella Beauty Bar prices, I want CXC beauty longevity. Okay. So just doing a lot of experimentation. And I don't know if maybe it's just because I'm wearing eyeshadow a lot at the moment. So I'm noticing, because it's more frequently than I used to. I think because I'm leaving the house more rather than just like sitting at home and doing my makeup. I'm leaving the house more, so I'm doing my makeup and I'm wearing it for longer. So I think that's another reason why I'm potentially noticing more creasing than I was getting before. Yeah, so I'm still working on that. When is the sale? And when does the sale end? I think it's only for Labor Day, isn't it? I Bella Beauty Bar is one of those ones where I think they're always going to crease, but I think it's just about how severe the creasing is. And I say that based on speaking to other people who have used Bella Beauty Bar um, like a lot. Um, and Jessica, she gets creasing. I haven't, what I might try and do is see if I can dig up a few more reviews. But the thing is, a lot of people that get stuff like this in PR, depending on how big they are, I feel like they gloss over things like that sometimes. Like I want to know formula wise how long something is going to last. Like if it's gonna crease within 5 minutes of me having it on, I don't want to spend the money on it. So Bella Beauty Bar, that threw me, because I remember the day I was filming that Bella Beauty Bar video, I started filming it, I had to stop because I had a work meeting, and then I came back and I finished it off. But when I came to finish it off, the creasing had already started. My meeting was only an hour. So for creasing to start within like an hour and a half, that's concerning. That's concerning. So would I buy it? And how big is the discount on the sale? Yeah, I mean, if there's a really good sale, I mean, Black Friday's not far off, is it? Where, or, I mean, tomorrow's September, isn't it? And then we've got like 2 months, and then we're gonna have Black Friday sales. So maybe sit tight until Black Friday, if you're waiting for me anyway to confirm about the creasing. Okay, that's a pretty sweet deal, to be fair. 20% off with a 10% code on top. Um, would it is it worth the risk? I don't know. But the thing is, as well, depending, your lids might like the formula. I do have slightly oily lids, which is another reason why I wanted to try the color fix, because I feel like this will help with some of the oiliness. And the tip that someone gave, was it Tracks? Yeah, see, I wouldn't be surprised if that blurring balm also helps with creasing, because I feel like that would zap some of the oils that form, that push through, that accelerate creasing. So I think that blurring balm hack with NYX could work really well, and I'll try that next week. I'll try that next week. I'll do that on Wednesday and Thursday. Those are two office days that I can try it 2 days in a row. So I'll give that a go. Yeah, so there's a part of me, there's still palettes that I want. So I don't think I even said. So this is a Beauty Moon palette. This is Mantra 2, and I'm in the middle of filming like a Beauty Moon cosmetics compilation video. So I'm going to do Mantra 1 and 2 as well as Cosmology, because they're the three palettes that I've got. So rather than do one video per palette, I'm just going to whiz through them all. And I'm going to do that for a few. So Poppy, that's not the brand. Titanium Foxes is coming. That's just going to be Jay's Joy and Poppy Storm. And Nomad, that's also coming. So Nomad, the 3 10-year anniversary palettes. And then Beauty Moon, these three. And I think I'll do the same with Adept. So this is just so I can catch up, because I got a whole heap of palettes and I couldn't film for a good chunk of time, but I'm back to filming semi-regularly and filming as much in advance as I possibly can. So I'm doing a few sort of catch-all videos. But this is Beauty Moon, and they've got a 25% off code this weekend. And I really want Medusa, but I'm like, you can't buy another Beauty Moon cosmetics palette when you haven't even used the three that you've got. So here I am using the three that I've got. Yeah, see, that's the thing I find. I sometimes feel some reviews when I watch them gloss over very key information. And it's just like things that you would really want to know as a consumer. It's just, like things that may be pitfalls in the formula. Do the mattes fade over time? Do the shimmers crease? Do they apply? Are they difficult to apply? One thing I'll be commenting on when I sort of return to filming, there's a satin shade in the corner here, which I think it looks quite nice, but it was a bit fiddly. It was a bit tricky. I had to try different techniques to get this to work. And sometimes they go into that, and other times they don't. See, Adept, but the thing with Adept is, I think I've got everything from Adept that I want at the moment, though I'm tempted by Emo. I am tempted by Emo. But they charge really high shipping plus taxes to the UK. Like something like Nomad, I buy direct from them, it's just the $25 shipping. Like it seems to be flat. And that's fine, especially when you're buying multiple palettes. Oh, buy tracks. That's the thing. I think sometimes when you get PR, there's thing this thing where you have to be positive, otherwise the brand might not take too kindly to you being negative about the palette, and will take you off the PR list. But what's the point in that? Like I got Vivette in PR, and yes, it made me eat my words. Like I was pleasantly surprised by the looks I was able to do, but it's not my favorite. It does have its flaws. Like some of the shimmers are a bit on the chunky side and they crease. That's just how it is. Like just be upfront. In fact, surely that would gain you more respect among people who are viewing you. They go to you because no matter what, you're going to be honest. So that's why so Teresa is dead, for example, like she's upfront about stuff, and also Ella Kinkley, they're both very upfront and they will say it as it is. I think they're probably, off the top of my head, two of the most trustworthy people that I watch. I can't comment on Angelica because I don't really watch her often enough. I'll watch her because she gets everything. Like, so if there's a palette that's coming out and I'm curious about it, or I want to see, sometimes she does like compilation videos, a bit like I'm doing. So it's quite nice to see different shadows pitted against each other. So I can't comment on someone like Angie about how trustworthy her reviews are, but from what I have seen, she seems to be pretty on it as well. And I think Bad to the Brow, she comes across as being quite on it, and there with the constructive criticism, I would say. I'm conscious of the time and the fact I've been wittering away for a lot of time. So just to kind of summarize, I'm trying to think what would be my favorite from this. Do you know what? I think Blood Moon, but I do actually really like CXC Beauty, you know. I'm impressed with, I think overall favorite is going to go to Electrum, because I just think that the longevity, the lasting power, the color story, the shimmers in here, this I think ranks the highest for me. Then I think this one for sort of the longevity and the range and the variety took me most by surprise. Probably would have gone to Vivette if it had a bit more sort of longevity, but I think probably this one took me the most by surprise, because I was really expecting not to like it. Like I as I say, I wasn't going to pick this one up. This was a Nomad one I was going to skip, but now that I have it, I'm glad to. I'm genuinely glad to. Whereas Vivette, I don't, not indifference, a bit harsh. Like I do like it, but I don't think I would be missing out if I didn't have it. Minka, on the other hand, you would have to pry that out of my cold dead hands. I love Minka. Minka is delightful. So I think that's how I would rank those. Overall favorite, good variety and longevity. So notable mention, I would say, and then took me most by surprise. There we go. So thank you to everyone who was able to join live, and if you're catching up at a later date, thank you for making the time to do that also. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and I also hope to see you again in a video in the not too distant future. Take care. Bye. Right, how do I end this?